Hello, grade sixes, and welcome to your lesson on circles. Today we will be talking about radius, diameter, and circumference. So let's begin with radius. A radius is any line that begins in the center of the circle and goes outside to the edge. So let's read. All points on a circle are the same distance from the center of the circle. If you are looking at the center and you see all these lines, they are all an example of what we call a radius because they are the same distance. This distance is the radius of the circle. Okay, then we have diameter. We will call diameter equals d, just if we call it as a variable. So the diameter is the longest line segment in any circle because it passes through the center of the circle. So if you were to create as many lines in a circle, the longest one is called the diameter. So the diameter passes through the center of the circle. So the radius is half of the diameter, because if we were to pass through the center, we know that the radius is also from the center to the edge, but it is just half of it because the diameter goes from edge to edge, whereas radius goes from edge to center. So I drew kind of a visual over here so you can see. If we have a diameter, it would be the whole thing versus the radius would just be half. So we could say radius equals r, and the radius is just half of the diameter. So this looks more intimidating than it actually is. At the same time, the diameter is d is equal to 2 radius, because if we know our radius is 2 centimeters and we want to figure out the diameter, all we have to do is multiply it by 2. So it would be 2 centimeters times 2, so you can figure out the whole diameter. That would give you 4 centimeters. So let's look at some examples. We know A is an example of a radius because it goes from the center to the edge. We know B is an example of it because it goes center to the edge. What about C? First of all, it doesn't pass through the center and it doesn't go to the edge. It's just kind of in the middle of it. So let's just get rid of this. I was just trying to draw, and it doesn't always work. It kind of makes a mess. So we know this one is not true. So if we draw an example of a radius and a diameter, so this one, let's do radius. Let's assume that this is right in the middle. This can be r. And let's do that again. This can be r, the radius. And then if we were to do the diameter, we could go like this. I'm just trying to represent, this should be trying to represent it. This is D. The whole line would be diameter. Okay, find the radius or diameter. So over here, if we're looking at radius and diameter, so you're going to figure out the one that we don't have. So this one we see radius. So how do we know what the diameter is? So this is 6 times 2 to figure out the diameter. The diameter would be 12. Over here we are given diameter and we want to figure out radius. We know that radius is half. So 24 divided by 2 would be 12 centimeters is our radius. And over here in the last one, we are given diameter because it goes through the center and it goes edge to edge. And we know that the radius would only be half. So 10 divided by 2 would be 5.